Thank you so much for coming. My name is Dan Lawson. I'm Director of the Gene Golding Institute, Interim Director. So many of you will have known Kate Robson-Brown, who's the previous director, and I'm taking over, well, until February and beyond. So it's a great pleasure to be here. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to give a bit of an introduction to the Gene Golding Institute, the Institute for Data Science at the University of Bristol, and a little bit of motivation for why we're running this session, AI and the Future of Society. The Gene Golding Institute is one of the university research institutes, and we're here to support data science and everything that entails, data-intensive research more broadly. To do that, we help researchers at the University of Bristol with data science support. For this, we have a help desk. This is Ask JGI. That's 8 hours of free data science support. We also can be costed into grants and provide longer-term support that way. For the moment, the research software engineering support that is provided, we are the point of contact, and that's because all of the people that were previously in charge of making sure that ran smoothly are frantically getting Isambard AI up and running. So, yeah, thanks so much to them. We'll hear from Christopher later about that. We also run training. We run data science training that we've developed, as well as the more general research software training, again, that the research software team developed. So that covers R and Python and scientific programming, plus machine learning and all of the good stuff that you'd expect. We're also able to help with bespoke courses and networking events. So networking events like this one are one of the main ways that we get people into a room and discussing things, and that's where all the really interesting ideas happen. So that's the point of today, really. So events like this one, Data Week, are really important, but actually we run things all through the year. There's really important regular seminars and workshops. So those include data visualization, data hazards, and many more. So if you're interested, there's been taster sessions of those all this week. So if you didn't get the chance to join one and you want to, do. Those are all online. We also can help you publicize your own events. So I guess many of you will have heard of this event through the JGI newsletter. We can put your events in there, but we can also help with networking if you need to make a particular contact. That's something we can help with. And finally, we help with funding. We offer seed corn funding to small projects, and we'll hear from some of those this afternoon, as well as helping with grant development on bigger projects, getting data science really ingrained into applications. Okay, so that's the advertising pitch for the JGI. I'm going to now talk a little bit about the theme of AI and the future of society, and this is coming from the perspective of a data science institute. So data is really the underpinning of the modern reinvention of AI that's had this massive societal impact that we're all living through. It's only really possible because the data was sitting there. So the entire internet has been looked at by AI and incorporated in obviously a very clever way, and that is essentially these tools that we're all now able to use. The interesting thing about that is all of these tools have now already seen all of the data that's on the internet. So there's some challenges and potentially some barriers to the continual increase in performance that we might hope for in the future. And there's a circularity because these AIs are now so popular that they're filling the internet with their own output, and there's a real risk that they'll end up living in an echo chamber, learning from themselves, and then, well, who knows where that will lead. So that's a concern and a problem, and people working in that space know about it. They're dealing with those issues. From the perspective of people who are not developing these models, there's a way to stop that loop and to use the AI, and ways to do that are one of the things we're going to talk about today. So ways to use what that AI knows about everything that humans have put on the internet, and then go on and use that to label data or to use it in science. Well, that's a really important challenge that we're all scrambling to make best use of. So in Bristol, there's a massive breadth of data science and AI activity. We're part of a health hub called LEAP. So they gave a talk on Monday. If you missed that, it'll be on YouTube. The goal of that is to bring deeper digital health knowledge throughout the processing of health records across the whole of southwest England and Wales. It's a really important endeavour, and we're really proud to be part of it. Another really big activity is the Bristol Digital Futures Institute. It's been running since 2019, I think. And this is a massive investment, £100 million, co-created with industry. And the goal is to bring a more socio-technical research perspective on science. So it's very digital data facing, and the sorts of activity that are going on there really look like the future, right? They have something that's essentially a holodeck. So it's a really exciting space, and it's very important that we're collaborating with industry on that. We have two of the 9 recently announced AI hubs being hosted at Bristol. These are really important ways to direct the future of AI research. One of these is on collective intelligence, and that is about trying to think about the kind of intelligence from the societal perspective. How do we intelligently use AI as a society? And the other is informed AI, and that's trying to understand the foundations of AI models. There's also the Isambard AI supercomputer. This is a massive investment for the whole of the UK, and apart from just saying how impressive it is, top 10 supercomputers worldwide, I'm not going to say any more because we're hearing from one of the leads on that later. We've got Centres for Doctoral Training in AI, and the latest round includes practice-oriented AI, and that's all on top of all the kind of business-as-usual activity of research inside the faculties, and a whole bunch of other things that I didn't have time to mention. So it's really exciting times. I'm going to just do a little bit of audience participation to talk about why we care about AI and the future of society. So we all know AI is influencing our lives. Could I get a show of hands for who is worried about the way that it's going to affect jobs? Okay, I'm going to say that's about half. Can I get a show of hands of people who would put their hand up when asked a question? Yeah? Okay, so the statistician in me really wants that baseline. That's something that we're going to be talking about later. It's a really important thing. There's lots of reasons to be hopeful and more cautious. I'm really interested in how it's going to change knowledge. So just like the pocket calculator did away with the need for us to be doing long division, right? No one uses long division anymore. What are the things that we're not going to need to do in the future because we've got an AI tool that can do it for us, that we dare trust? What are we going to trust to AI? Who feels like they can make a difference on what decisions are made about AI? Right, a few people who presumably know how. So I'm hoping that we're going to hear a little bit about that, but we're all quite concerned that we don't know. We don't have that impact, right? And I think it's fair to say that the decisions made by companies about AI affect our lives more than the decisions that we get to vote on about the upcoming election. Okay, So yeah, there are risks and there are benefits. We're going to talk in the afternoon about how to use AI for good, and I'm really interested in using AI for science. So another show of hands, who here feels that they work in the space of AI in a very broadly defined way? Right. And keep your hand up if you feel confident in calling yourself an expert in AI. I'm going to put my hand down at that point, right? My hand should have been up. Okay, so it's really difficult, right? So certain bits of AI, the transformative bits, they've only been around 2 years as far as public-facing part of it's concerned. It's not really possible to be an expert, to have been trained in those things. And yeah, you can spend a lot of time working, but really I think AI is so broad, we can only really have expertise when we come together and discuss it at places like this, events like this. Expertise is a discussion. The impact of AI is felt throughout society, but also in science. So this is quotes from a very recent publication by the Royal Society on Science in the Age of AI. And they basically say, well, the biggest barrier to AI is data. So researchers lack access to data. The data that we have is not varied enough. There's sensitivities around us accessing data, but maybe companies have that data. And what we do get hold of is biased in a hopeless way. So those difficulties are really problematic. They also highlight the difficulty of black box nature of these AI tools. And that's, of course, something that having access to Isambard AI is likely to change. They highlight the importance of interdisciplinary collaboration. So I think about half of the people in this room said they were AI folk. I guess the rest are experts in something else. We've got to be talking across these communities in order to have the biggest impact, and they made that point explicitly. And finally, they were quite positive about generative AI tools. They were looking on the bright side about the good things that could be done with them, and we need to really make the best of it and make sure we don't get an abusive system with AI tools. I'm going to wrap up by just mentioning our namesake. So we're named after Jean Golding. Jean Golding was a data scientist at heart. She set up the Children of the 90s Birth Cohort Study, which has massive impact on the city of Bristol. And using the data that she gathered and the data processing tools that she developed, she was able to have a massive impact. And one of the very, very early impacts was on the understanding of cot deaths, and that led to a massive change in the amount of people dying that way. So Jean still works at the university, and it's her 85th birthday this year. So to celebrate that, we are holding an event. It's going to be at We the Curious, 11th of September. Save the date if you're at all working in this space. It's going to be a research-focused event, but it's going to be really exciting. So I hope I can see you there. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Pally Smart, who is the Associate VC for Global and Civic Engagement. Thanks very much.